Speaking of mugshots, how about a mugshot for Joe Biden and Hunter Biden? Haven't seen those yet. Nancy Mace says there may be one that is due because there's over $50 million that she's identified that have come into the coffers of these two people for really nobody knows why. No goods or services that they actually provided that were normal other than the exploitation of American interest or using the power of the presidency to exploit American power. So there are 16 times that Joe Biden has lied to Americans and to the media and to the world. We're going to go through all of them because the Oversight Committee put out a very nice report along with video clips and video evidence. So every time one of the people on the left say, what has Joe Biden done? How about 16 lies to you and to your face? Does that matter to you at all? Here's Nancy Mace saying a mugshot might be due because there's $50 million that they've come across. And it's not just that, it's probably much more.
It's based on documents that you've seen that we have not seen yet. So can you, is it still 50 million? Is it more now? I mean, what do you know?
It's staggeringly high. It's definitely more than 50 million. It's staggeringly high. I'm not allowed to share the confidential information in the suspicious activity report sitting at the Treasury right now, but the amount of money we are talking about is staggering. And the fact that mainstream media has just ignored this, swept this under the rug and said all of this is normal. This is probably the most corrupt president in U.S. history. And I don't say that lightly. I mean, I come from a very purple district, but the double standard here is very obvious. There's two different standards of justice in this country. And, you know, Joe Biden ought to probably have a mugshot when this thing is said and done. And I want the American people to see all the evidence that we have.
Yeah, let's get mugshots for Joe, mugshots for Hunter, mugshots for Hillary, mugshots for Christopher Wray, Merrick Garland, Barack Obama. Get the whole list. Who cares? All right, so this is the list. 16 different times that they have lied to all of us. Here is the list. From the Oversight Committee, published August 24th, Joe Biden lied at least 16 times about his family's business interests. We're going to go down a little trip down memory lane. August 28th, 2019, Joe Biden was running for president. Here's what he said. I've never discussed with my son. I've never discussed anything having to do with their businesses, period. Here's the clip.
First of all, I have never discussed with my son or my brother or anyone else anything having to do with their businesses, period. And what I will do is the same thing we did in our administration. There will be an absolute wall between personal and private and the government. There wasn't any hint of scandal at all when we were there, and I'll impose the same kind of strict rules. That's why I never talked with my son or my brother or anyone else.
Called him every day.
Even distant family about their business interests, period.
Never, none of that ever happened. That's all a big fat lie. So he called, they talked all the time, and he even showed up at business dinners, business meetings. Here's another one, September 21st, 2019. Have you ever spoken to your son about his overseas business dealings? I've never spoken to my son about overseas business dealings. Here's what they've got.
Following former Vice President Joe Biden on the campaign trail, Peter Ducey is joining us now from Des Moines, Iowa Live.
And so how do you know?
Let's talk about, here's what I know. I know Trump deserves to be investigated. Trump's doing this because he knows I'll beat him like a drum. And he's using the abuse of power and every element of the presidency to try to do something to smear me.
Obviously lied about that. Another one, October 4th, 2019. See if he stands by this statement. This one's also on YouTube.
Excuse me, there's a photo of you golfing with your son Hunter and his business partner Devin Archer. Do you stand by your statement that you did not discuss any of your son's overseas business?
Yes, I stand by that statement.
Lie. Another lie. Here's another one. This one came from October 9th. They've assembled the whole list.
I don't discuss business with my son. I didn't know that was the case when in fact I found out after the fact. And because I don't discuss things with my son or my family, because I don't want to have any knowledge of any, I don't want to be accused of, well, you talk with your son or you talk with your whomever.
Yeah, but the problem is he was using a fake pseudonym and then copying his son on that stuff. This one is from 2019 as well. It says no family members involved.
Mr. Vice President, as you said, your son Hunter today gave an interview, admitted that he made a mistake and showed poor judgment by serving on that board in Ukraine. Did you make a mistake by letting him? You were the point person on Ukraine at the time, if you can answer.
Look, my son's statement speaks for itself. I did my job. I never discussed a single thing with my son about anything having to do with Ukraine. No one has indicated I have. We've always kept everything separate. Even when my son was the Attorney General of the state of Delaware, we never discussed it. So so there'd be no potential conflict.
Wrong son.
My son made a judgment. I'm proud of the judgment he made. I'm proud of what he had to say.
You are? You're proud of all of that? Wow, that's pretty interesting, because a lot of people say it was highly corrupt. Here's one from 2019.
No, I don't. And because I never discussed with my son anything having to do with what was going on in Ukraine. That's a fact. But here's the look, guys. Let's focus on what the problem is here.
You, brother, that's the problem. All right, here's one from 60 Minutes. I don't think he was falling asleep in this one. October, another lie.
Hunter said the only thing you said to him was, quote, I hope you know what you're doing.
That's exactly right. He's a grown man. What I meant by that is, I hope you've thought this through. I hope you know exactly what you're doing here.
Yeah.
Meaning what?
That's all I meant. Nothing more than that, because I've never discussed
nothing more.
my business or their business, my sons or daughters, and I've never discussed them because they know where I have to do my job and that's it, and they have to make their own judgments.
That makes no sense.
We'll say Joe Biden, he's an experienced politician, statesman, knows the issues of Ukraine. Why didn't he just say to his son, this is one to take a pass on, it may not look good?
He was already on the board, and he's a grown man. And it turns out he did not do a single thing wrong, as everybody's investigated.
So, you see, he says that he's a grown man, and he says, I hope you know what you're doing. But why would you say that if you weren't concerned about what they were doing? Like, doesn't a normal parent say, whoa, you got a job at that law firm? Congratulations, man. Whoa, you've got a job here? Well, you're starting a business? Congratulations. You know, it's exciting. Not, I hope you know what you're doing. Don't get indicted. Here's another one. This one was on October 29, 2019. Another lie from Joe.
Acknowledging that you've said now that your son, your family will not be involved. They won't have offices in the White House, rather, in the West Wing, as
he
of
lives
course, the
there.
president's
Hunter
family
lives
has,
there.
but that they will not have any businesses, foreign businesses. If it's not appropriate, if you were to become the nominee or the president of the United States, rather, why was it appropriate when you were the vice president for him to have foreign investments?
Well, the fact is, I was unaware of his investments until it occurred, and I've never discussed what my son's business with him because I didn't want any conflict, including my deceased son, Bo, was the attorney general and was suing banks apparently, during the recession, and when we weren't, et cetera. So we've kept everything separate, and my son's comments speak for himself. He said that if he had known, if he had thought through what Giuliani and those thugs were about to do, he regrets having done it.
Giuliani was the problem, not Hunter at all. Here's Jen Psaki. Reporter asks her a question. Here's what she said.
The president has said that he never spoke to his son about his overseas business dealings. Is that still the case?
Yes.
Never spoke to the son about overseas. Obviously, that was a lie. Here's one from Joe. This one's more recently. Did you ever lie? Did you lie about speaking to Hunter about his business deals? He said no. Another one, August 9th, 2023. This one's another one with Ducey.
There's this testimony now where one of your son's former business associates is claiming that you were on speakerphone a lot with them talking business. Is that what?
I never talk business with anyone. And I knew you'd have a lousy question.
Well, why is that a lousy question?
Because it's not true.
Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, so here's another one. And so you see there's a bunch of lies there. This is from a depo. Since we were talking about it before the break, can you say who was there at this dinner at Cafe Milano? Yeah, Kenis Rakishev, Kareem Mazamov, Yelena Baturina, Yuri, Hunter, Joe Biden was there, and Eric Sherwin. The duration of the time, how long was Joe Biden there? How long did he stay there? He had dinner. Yeah, I recall that he had dinner. It was a regular, not a long dinner, but it was a dinner. So Joe Biden sat for dinners with these people. Keynes, Kareem, Yelena, she's still the Russian oligarch who has not been sanctioned yet. People are asking why. So Joe literally sat down and had dinner with all of the business people, including Eric Sherwin, the family's business guy. And so this dinner was taking place in 2014. Do you recall getting a wire from Yelena Baturina, the Russian oligarch, for $3.5 million to Rosemont Seneca, the Biden companies? Yeah. Let's move on to the second dinner. The second dinner? What? Who was there? It was Vladimir. It was Hunter. It was Joe Biden, myself, Kareem, a Greek Orthodox priest, and maybe someone from World Food Program. And what did Joe do at dinner? Did he have dinner? How long he was there? Yes, he had dinner. And he was there, I believe. The first one was like a birthday dinner, and the second one, we were supposed to talk about the World Food Program, so there was some talk about that. We know that Hunter had his daddy on the phone over 20 times. Devin Archer confirmed that. Approximately how many times? He says, I don't know, 20 times? Joe Biden attended the CEFC meeting meeting, which was the Chinese energy company. FBI Special Agent Joshua Wilson asks Rob Walker, says, did the VP ever show up at any CEFC meeting or anything like that? Even once he was out of office, did he ever show up? Yes. Any times when he was in the office, did you hear Hunter say that he was setting up a meeting with his dad, with them, while his dad was still in office? Yeah. We've got more text messages. Z, please have the director call me tonight. Have him call me. I am sitting here with my father. Another lies. Here's another one from Joe.
Any reaction to House GOP's memo about your family dealings, sir? Any reaction to House GOP's new memo about your family dealings, sir?
Family dealings?
Yes, you're revealing that Hunter Biden's business associate sent over $1 million to 3 of your family members. Any reaction to that report?
Not true, he says. Yes, it is. It is true. Look at all these donos, Joe. Beneficiary accounts, 5,025, Biden, Hallie Biden, Owasco, Hunter's company. All the originating accounts, all the beneficiary accounts, all listed. Biden, Hallie Biden, First Clearinghouse, Owasco, that's Hunter. Owasco, 100 grand, 50 grand. Owasco, 300 grand. Biden, $1 million. A lot of money. Joe Biden also lied about Hunter not making money from China. We know that is also a lie. He's made a ton of money from China.
There have been questions about the work your son has done in China and for a Ukrainian energy company when you were vice president. In retrospect, was anything about those relationships inappropriate or unethical?
Nothing was unethical. Here's what the deal. With regard to Ukraine, we had this whole question about whether or not, because he was on the board, I later learned of a Burisma, a company, that somehow I had done something wrong. Yet every single solitary person, when he was going through his impeachment, testifying under oath who worked for him, said, I did my job impeccably. I carried out U.S. policy. Not one single solitary thing was out of line. Not a single thing, number one. Number two, the guy who got in trouble in Ukraine was this guy trying to bribe the Ukrainian government to say something negative about me, which they would not do and did not
investigating,
do, because it never, ever happened.
Investigating your
My
calls
son
to fire
has not
Shokin.
made money in terms of this thing about
China.
what are you talking about? China. I have not had it. The only guy made money from China is this guy. He's the only one. Nobody else has made money from China.
Not true. That was a lie. He literally lied about that. Hunter made a ton of money. Here's the money. Here's how it came in. China to Chairman Ye, the same guy Hunter was threatening. Chairman, I'm sitting right here with my daddy. Give me the money or else. That's the guy. So the money would flow to Hudson West through Gong Wang Dong. Then it'd go to CEFC. Then it'd go to the Biden family. They'd also funnel it through Hudson West too. Lion Hall Group was run by James and Sarah Biden. Hallie Biden got paid a ton of money. We got a diamond ring from State Energy HK Company went over to Hunter, and many others. An unknown Biden also was in on the grift. Here's the plan. They would create infrastructure. Hudson West, which was a fake shell company, would be part of that. Then they would remove Hudson West and add this guy in. Then they would send money, 10 million bucks. They would get paid for facilitating the deal. Owasco would get 100 grand for facilitating it. Tons of lies. We already saw Joe say nothing was unethical. Devin Archer testified, kept saying that Joe Biden was selling the brand. By brand, you mean the family, right? The brand means the family. Yeah, we're selling the brand because when Hunter makes the deal, Joe Biden's going to execute on it. His value was that he was adding the family. What was the basis for that? You know, it's about opening doors, you know, globally in DC, and Hunter sent the right signals. Devin says, my only thought is that I think Burisma would have gone out of business if it didn't have the brand attached to it, okay? Hunter Biden and his connections to daddy weren't there. They wouldn't have gotten anything done. There was a dinner at the Four Seasons. Mykola Zolchevsky from Burisma, Ukraine. Did Zolchevsky or Vladimir ask Hunter to make any phone calls? Yes. The request was, I think that they were getting pressure. What kind of pressure? Government pressure. And so, you know, what were they asking for? Well, basically like, can DC help? Can DC help? Hunter carried a powerful name, and that's what they were asking for. Here's the clip from the Tucker exchange with Devin and Tucker.
The reaction to what you've said in public, to what you said to the committee on the Hill, and doubtless to what you've been telling us in this interview, is that like there's no corruption here at all. This is totally normal. Joe Biden had no role whatsoever in his son's business or knowledge of it. But
right?
How would that seems false?
Yeah, I think that's categorically false. I think that
categorically false.
He was aware of Hunter's business. He met with Hunter's business partners. You found a letter that illustrates that he knew me.
And he's thanking you. He's thanking you for his efforts.
So I think that was, I think
your efforts. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that that's a, that's not factually right.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Joe Biden sent Devon Archer a literal letter that said, I'm grateful that you're getting into business with Hunter, essentially. Oh, this is another clip. This was an exchange from 2019, another lie from Joe Biden.
A lot of the Ukraine charges about you have been debunked and were unfair. There's one thing that a lot of Democrats even do wonder about, and that is Hunter Biden, your son, was getting paid a lot of money to serve on the board of a Ukrainian energy company facing serious corruption charges. You were the vice president running point on Ukraine. The average Joe hears that and says, that sounds fishy. What's your understanding of what your son was doing for an extraordinary amount of money?
I don't know what he was doing. I know he was on the board. I found out he was on the board after he was on the board. That was it. And there's nobody.
Well, you've got a lot of time. Isn't this something you want to get to the bottom of?
No, because I trust my son.
But that doesn't pass the smell test. Like when you're vice president, isn't there a higher standard? Don't you need to know what's happening with your family? Don't you need to put down some guardrails?
Unless there was something on its face that was wrong. There's nothing on its face that was wrong. So look, if you want to talk about problems, let's talk about Trump's family.
Here we go.
I mean, come on. This is
doesn't like this line of question.
You guys are amazing.
You guys are amazing.
So you think that everything that happened was kosher?
You know, there's not one single bit of evidence, not one little tiny bit, to suggest anything done was wrong.
He did not like that one. So Joe, very irritated. And this is like just a couple of years ago. He could actually kind of talk back then. We had the two whistleblowers who exposed all of this created by the Committee on Oversight and Accountability. So the entire report drafted by them, 16 different lies chronicled, and the evidence is clear. Now, are the Republicans going to actually do anything about it? That's a separate question. But my friends, the lies are everywhere. We've got reaction from Comer and Jim Jordan explaining their thoughts on all of these lies as they continue to pile up.
We all trips.
His son has flown with him on Air Force Two. It's taken a long time to get that information out. We finally know now. There were over a dozen times.
13 times that we know of, sir?
Yes, over a dozen times. And these aren't business deals. That's what, people say these are business deals. These were shakedowns, Sean. This is where they go in there and they try to sell access to Joe Biden, and they're selling access to some of the worst people in some of the worst countries in the world. And the whole brand, as Devon Archer testified in a transcribed interview, was Joe Biden. And Hunter Biden needed to be seen with Joe Biden. He needed to put Joe Biden on the phone. He needed to be copied on emails. That's like we're just now fighting with the pseudonym incident where Joe Biden was disguising and hiding his name and then forwarding information relevant to some shady business dealings that Hunter was having. All of this was part of the plan. This was the Biden business model led by Joe Biden.
Let me ask you about this timeline. Is it true, sir, that in October of 2015 that it became...
And we just found that out this week. I can't believe no one asked that question before, but it appears that Joe Biden created this narrative and the media went along with it that Shokin was corrupt and he needed to be terminated, when now we found correspondence from the Obama administration that actually applauded the reform efforts that Shokin, the Ukrainian prosecutor, had done.
And they just made it up. Shokin was receiving praises. In fact, they were going to, in the emails, reconfirm that $1 billion loan. Question is, did Joe Biden have any other rational basis to threaten to withhold that? Or was that only to just get rid of the one prosecutor and stop one key investigation into Burisma so that he could make good on his son's promises? They were paying him $1 million a year. If Daddy doesn't deliver, what are they going to do about that? This is Senator Kennedy, who is explaining what this is all really about.
Well, it seems to me, Sean, that Hunter Gate is about two things: privilege and sleaze. First, the privilege.
Good summary.
President Biden and many members of the media lecture us incessantly about the injustice of privilege, especially so-called white privilege. But to me, that's like being lectured about gun safety by Alec Baldwin. Because when they lecture us about privilege, they never mention Hunter Biden, who is the epitome of privilege. How did Hunter Biden earn these millions of dollars? Is it because he's so smart?
Yes, smartest man Joe knows.
How smart is it to turn over a laptop with incriminating information to a stranger?
That was the drugs, though.
How smart is it to try to deduct your hookers on your federal income tax?
I think they teach that at Harvard or Yale. I don't know. He went to
the
Yale.
Ukrainian and Chinese companies picked Mr. Hunter Biden because they were impressed with his resume on ZipRecruiter? No.
Did he post there?
It was his daddy. It was always about his daddy. Hunter Biden is just a vessel. He's just a lucky sperm. And the next time that you are lectured, we are lectured about privilege, I want people to remember that. Point two, if you are fair-minded and have any sort of moral compass, all this sleaze surrounding Hunter Biden and President Biden and their family has got to make you want to gag. Now, I know what the official White House line is. The official White House line is that, look, President Biden is just a good family man who talks to 6 out of his 7 grandchildren every day, and who is such a swell daddy that he regularly calls into Hunter's business meetings to talk about weather. Now, if you believe that, you will never own your own home. At a minimum, the evidence brought forth by the House and by Senator Grassley, by the way, in the Senate, is clarion clear that President Biden was well aware of what his son was doing, and he aggressively enabled it. And that's sleazy.
All right, Senator Kennedy with a little comedy routine there. Quite good. He can deliver it. When he's on, you know, he can really string them together. Oh, pretty funny and definitely all true. And as funny as it is and as enjoyable as it is to watch him dunk on these people, I also would like to see some action. So maybe they can join hands in the Senate with podcast guy Ted Cruz, James Comer, Nancy Mace, and the others to do something about the 16 times Biden lied, in addition to all of the other criminalities that we have seen and exposed here. We'll continue to cover it. Hopefully they start doing stuff in the meantime. Thank you for subscribing, my friends. Thank you for joining us as we go through all of this and more.